welcome to the lab. I'm Kel, and I'm here with Cody. How you doing today, Cody?
Oh, just dandy.
Today we have quite the episode for everybody where we're just going to vent because there's been a big news video, Instagram post, and Cody and I have things to say about it.
We have a lot of things to say about it.
Before we get into that and we rage, how are you doing? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I'm just in this constant state of rage, and that's why, I feel like this podcast is just purely therapeutic for both of us. It's just like trying my hardest to keep this sane approach to everything and just kind of be like, not reacting or just trying to like constantly calm myself down. I just feel like I'm imploding, like I am the Ocean Gate sub and I have reached a depth that is too deep and it's just crushing me. And, I just need to get some fucking shit out because there's so much going on. I can't. How about you?
No, I'm at the same spot right now. And like, I know you don't watch hockey, but like this is how I feel is like when you can tell that someone's been like a pest all day, like on the ice when they're playing, like hitting them a little bit. And then you get that one last hit and you turn around and you just drop the fucking gloves because you're like, I just want to hurt something. And that's where I'm at. That's where I've been at for several days now, which is very bad. But where you feel like if anybody looks at you the wrong way, you're just going to lose your mind. That's how I feel.
And you just start like hating everybody or just... I mean, like even at the gym, I just feel so tense because, especially after, what we're going to talk about, but it just feels like you don't belong anywhere. You don't fit in. So there's also this, I feel like I got to watch my back more or I just don't trust anybody on top of just being pretty mad and angry, especially like people who, one, don't have your back who you think should or you thought would, two, for people that didn't listen to you when you said like, hey, this is going to impact me. And then, they like to give you the like, well, not everyone's like a one issue voter or whatever. Or, oh, it's going to be fine. It was fine the last time. It's going to be fine. And
also it's an issue. One issue means that a million people don't get rights. That's a big fucking issue. Like that, like that's the other thing with that. But yes, I have felt the same way, but I've also like gotten these weird comments recently from folks who are normally very supportive and about how like, oh, it's not really that bad out there. And and it like gaslighty almost like, I think they're not meaning to do it like that. They're like trying to be comforting, but it's like, no, it is out there. And this is kind of catty, but sometimes when people tell me that, I'll like screen record and just like scroll the comments sometimes and be like, well, there are a lot of people.
Yeah. And, it's, even if it's, okay, people are like, oh, you got to remember that like these executive orders, it's not something that can just like happen. There's going to be legal battles. He can't do this stuff. And it's like, even if legally there's things that cannot happen, do you know how many people support this shit? And it gives them permission to be shitty to trans people specifically. It gives people this permission to just be outright assholes to people. And they're like, oh yeah, let's make it great again. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you just want to like roll things back so you could just be a complete dick and be a bully to anyone who's different. Okay, you were just yearning for that. Like, this is your life's purpose. Is your life so much better now that you can poop on other people to make yourself feel better? Wow, cool.
Literally the last comment I looked at on this post that we're going to talk about here in a second, was talking to the poster saying, why are you even bothering with this bullshit? Trump 2025. And I'm like, that's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. There were so many comments that just said Trump's going to take care of it. And they were tagging Trump in it. They're like, what do you like? You think Trump should do something for bodybuilding specifically?
PC. Amateur NPC also.
Yeah. It's not even like the
amateur shows.
Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, Donald Trump's going to come in here like it's fucking UFC to, make sure that there's no trans.
Like there's not more important things to worry about. So I was at the Kroger today. Eggs are on sale for $4.50 a dozen. But
that's a deal.
Let's take care of these trans bodybuilders, the 5 of us who exist,
Yeah. For fucking real.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I think we should just jump into it. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to play the clip for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, congratulations. You get to see it. If you're just listening on Spotify, then you don't get to see it. We'll kind of go over it a little bit. But you can listen to it and you don't really need to see much of it. We'll go over what it is. But anyways, all right. So here's the clip. Enjoy.
If they continue to allow this on the amateur stage, it's going to ruin the NPC. And I'm fully supportive of this individual doing whatever they want in their own privacy. But we can't have this happening in sports, especially when a bodybuilding show, you're going up there pretty much butt naked. And this is very revealing. Like there's children there, there's families there. This is not a place where you want to see this go on. And I honestly think if the promoters don't nip this in the butt, it's going to be a massive problem.
Yeah. So for anyone who didn't watch that, basically there's this guy, he used to have a YouTube channel. His name is Bodybuilding in BS, or it's like Nick Trigili or something. And I believe he did make it. He did get his pro card or something at some point. Did he? Or I can't remember.
I don't know.
But he didn't make it like super far in bodybuilding because I think he said he like fucked up his health because he's dumb. But he's like still dumb. I used to watch his. Basically, he's like the gossip guy. He is basically Perez Hilton of the bodybuilding industry.
Yeah,
and he reports on the drama, and he's like the Goob of bodybuilding before Goob, but Goob isn't as much about bodybuilding as he is just about like sexual predators and stuff.
He's weird. Yeah, he's weird now. He's moved away from bodybuilding.
He's just like, I'm bored. Okay. So this guy used to have a YouTube channel where he, did all the gossip shit, but his YouTube channel got taken down. So now he's just doing it on Instagram essentially. And I think maybe like Patreon, but I'm like, I am not fucking paying for your shit. Like either you make a new account or I am not following you onto like a paid platform. I'm sorry, but he still posts his shit on Instagram. And so he is basically saying a lot of nothing. And he's pointing at, you'll see in the video there, he's got a video of a embassy show. It's in California. And there's 2 guys that you can kind of see. One of them is, allegedly a trans guy. We actually don't even fucking know because
no one knows who it is. And I feel so bad for this kid who's just like, what a terrible thing to be like just selected for.
Yeah.
When he's probably so fucking proud of himself. That day was probably a huge day for him because I know how big it meant and how much it meant to me to step on that stage when you're already fucking scared, and to be picked up like this and for it to blow up like it has. Yeah.
Again, we don't know if it's a trans person. It's like, I don't know if they knew.
We don't know
what was going to occur. And so there's other possibilities. It might even just be a cis guy who has really bad gyno that's a thing. I've seen plenty of bodybuilders get up on the stage with a little extra titty, and they get marked down for that, literally, because it's, you know, it is not.
Will you explain what gyno is for non-bodybuilders?
So it's basically like the development of breast tissue in men. Some men develop it during puberty, but sometimes you can develop it by doing steroid cycles, because basically you have an imbalance of testosterone and estrogen going on. So testosterone can convert over to estrogen, and it can cause, things like gyno. And that's why you have like either anti-estrogens, or you have some other substances that kind of counteract that don't convert over to estrogen. Like testosterone converts, tren does not, primo does not. So pairing those together can help kind of control that a little bit. But if you just did like a shit ton of tests and you don't have like, an AI, something to block the estrogen, then you can develop, breast tissue. So there are some bodybuilders that have dealt with that, and they've been open about having gyno surgery, or sometimes you can see it in shows. Like, even if it's a little bit, when you're that lean, you can still see it. The only way to get rid of it is literally surgery. So I really don't think this is a cis guy who has gyno. It's pretty pronounced. But what if they're like, who knows? Maybe they identify as female, but there isn't, women's bodybuilding anymore. Yeah. Like, there's no bodybuilding for women. Maybe they're like, have this dream of competing in bodybuilding and not having to wear a fucking bikini. I mean, that could be a possibility. Maybe they're non-binary. Maybe they are trans, and maybe they can't afford top surgery or didn't want to wait that long. I don't know. We don't know their story. So it's anyways, the guy's pointing out to this individual who has like trans tape across. So they're not just completely naked. They do have tape covering nipples. You're not seeing any nipple, but there's definitely tissue. So he's pointing out, that this is unacceptable kind of thing. And just, he says a lot of nothing. And it just seems like it's just for the engagement, just to get, people going, because he knows that his base will jump on his side of things. It's going to ramp up the engagement. And I'll admit 100% I fell for it, because I saw the comments and I was just too pissed off to stop myself, and I didn't want to like throw myself under the bus. I have dealt with enough of that fucking shit with all these people. And so I just was like, all I commented was, bodybuilding has been blurring the lines of gender for years. And now it's a problem, because it's like, people always get mad with, you got the female bodybuilders and people are saying they look like men, or they call them men and stuff. It's just like, okay. Usually bodybuilding community comes to the defense of that, but now they have a problem with other people who are different expressing themselves or competing, and it just is pretty hypocritical in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, Cody and I have been talking about this a lot, and I have a lot of feelings on it, because me, I can't really help myself when it comes to the comment section sometimes, especially once I'm in it, and then I just keep getting tagged back, So I've continued to fight a little bit, but I think it's so fucked up on several different ways, and I've come across several different quote unquote arguments, and I kind of think we should tackle each one. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Do you want me to I could share the screen and we can go through some comments if you want, or we could just go over the ones that,
Yeah, sure. Well, we can do either. Because a lot of what I saw on here is they're always worried about women in bodybuilding, or that's what I see in a lot of the things. Women in sport, right? Trans women in sport. And the thing I think is the most ridiculous about the bodybuilding community getting upset about this is that of like a female, so the one guy said, we need this to protect women from like CBUM entering a female bodybuilding competition. And I'm like, okay, first off, have you even watched a female bodybuilding competition? Because they have completely different criteria in which they are judged on. If Chris Bumstead today, hell, at Olympia, went and put a wig on and competed, he would lose.
Yes, because they actually do
lose.
They do.
They grade femininity.
Yeah.
It's not about mass in women's bodybuilding. Not just about mass in women's bodybuilding. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. So you clearly aren't doing this to quote unquote protect women and women in sport. That's not what you give a fuck about. You just don't want to police people.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, the majority of the bodybuilding community. Sorry, go for it.
The other thing I was going to say, and then I'll let you go, is that there are a handful, maybe, of female bodybuilders who are trans.
Yeah,
not usually what they're going for.
No, definitely not. Yeah, and I think too. People like CBUM don't need to get on stage with women because they already won against the guys. So like, why? I just picture CBUM stepping on stage in like a wig and like he's serious, like he really just wants to win that bad. And it's like, no, that's just not gonna happen. No. But it's just that it's these guys that have the most problem with it is their insecurity screaming. All of these guys, myself included, you know, we got into bodybuilding for an insecurity of some sort, right? And so it's almost like they're just, oh, I have an opportunity to shit on someone else because, you know, maybe I was bullied or maybe I'm short. And so I felt like I needed to, you know, do something to feel strong and feel confident, right? There's so many stories of people who were like, oh, I was so skinny, or oh, I was fat, or oh, I was so short, I couldn't grow up, so I grew out, you know? And everyone in bodybuilding, it has an issue. And the fact that there were so many comments about bodybuilding should not promote or support mental illness. We do not need to give into this. And it's just like, bodybuilding was made off of body dysmorphia. Are you fucking kidding me? Like bodybuilding is the promotion of body dysmorphia. And it's sucky to even admit it as someone who does it, but you wouldn't do it if you did it because no one subjects themselves to these things if there wasn't just like a teensy wincy bit of body dysmorphia going on.
No. And like, the other thing that I think is really insane and what I think is really driving most of these comments is that it absolutely terrifies them to think that they would lose to someone they think is a woman. And so if like think of how many cis guys you beat. Like you did really fucking well at your last show. And like those guys are like, that would so hurt their fragile masculinity that you had it work. Like you were at more of a disadvantage, put in so much work and so much dedication that you were able to compete and win above them. And so what's their excuse? Then it's on them. And that is something that does not compute in their brains.
No. Yeah. Actually I had, before I did my last show, I've never gotten this before from anyone else, but I'm sure if you ended up beating them consistently, they would probably find a way to say that you had an advantage of some sort. And since I compete in men's physique, I got a comment once that said, because I was born female, I have an advantage because I have like a smaller bone structure. So it makes your muscles like pop more or whatever. You could say that about, most of the people in the class that I compete in. I'm short, so I'm usually competing with other Asian dudes, but that's kind of this, we have similar structures, same size and stuff like that. And it's just like, so do you think that like they have advantages or, it's everyone's built differently, but it's like, oh, I have different bone structure, but it's like, do you know what other disadvantages I have? And it's just like, literally, it's not an advantage in the first place. But they're always going to find a way to find something. They can't just be like, props. But the ones who are secure, they will have no problem with it, or even, give you props for the hard work. And it's like, the guy who was actually on stage with the individual that was, competing, had absolutely no problem with the person they were competing against. And they even said, like, bodybuilding is about the hard work, and, they put in the work. I was more than happy to share stage with these people. And I feel like that is what bodybuilding is about. It is about the discipline, the hard work, the dedication. Anything outside of that, you're just an asshole. Like, if you don't congratulate someone's hard work, then you didn't do enough work yourself.
Right. And well, and for those who don't know, like, the original video from Bodybuilding and BS, or whatever his name is, got picked up by Generation Iron, which is kind of like a bigger news outlet in the fitness industry. And that's where they got the quote from the other guy. And I was so because what an ally, like, not even that he's trying to be an ally probably, but like to actually step up and be like, you know what, I'm cool. And because I was skimming through those comments, and man, it was like me and you. We were the only ones.
I know.
And then I got yelled at because I was doing my thing, commenting, and someone replied to me and said, wait, you're never going to win over someone by belittling them. And I'm like,
what are you doing?
Do you not see people giving me death threats here, bro? Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to say, well, I competed in 2 shows already, and guess what? Nothing bad happened. No one noticed, and it didn't destroy the sport like you're saying it's going to. But I didn't want to put that target on my back. And I'm just like, what if that gets around and I never get a chance at winning? Because, like, everyone just knows, like, I don't know what the judges' viewpoint is on things. I would rather no one in the NPC know, just so I can get a fair judgment, because it's already subjective. So it's really easy to discriminate. So I didn't want to say those things, and I also just didn't want to engage. Like, I feel like I engaged in that shit all last year. And so I'm just like, I'm already exhausted and I cannot get any more angry. And I just I was already still riled up, even from the little things. People did reply to the comment that I posted, which, funny, most of them were positive, where there was some where it was the irony, I see the irony, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. But then some girl commented oh, we won't tell anyone that you cross-dress at night or something, or at home. I was like, do you even know what you just said? I was like, what? I tried to reply, but the most insecure motherfuckers make it so you cannot reply to them. And so it's
right?
Yeah.
I called someone a coward because they did that earlier today.
Yeah. It's if you want to play the game, then you want to comment, then don't you dare turn your fucking comments off. Be a right? Be a man, take the heat back if you're gonna say shit.
Yeah. So. And it's just wild to me what people will say to other people with no understanding of who they are. I don't think most of the people in there, because I came out in a couple of my comments, but not in the until today. And I'm like, you don't even know I'm trans. And yeah. You're just arguing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was trying to explain it to Maddie, because I kind of had a little bit of a breakdown yesterday after I read it, and I was already kind of in a fragile headspace because of the executive orders, and it's been really weighing on me. And then I'm like, this was like the last, like the straw that broke the camel's back, and like tears came, and I'm not a crier. And I was just like so angry and so frustrated. And it's just like, this does nothing. Like, why the fuck? It's an amateur bodybuilding show. No one gives two shits about this. Like, just let people stand up there.
Yeah.
Like, how does it affect anybody at all? How does it affect the sport at all?
Yeah, it doesn't. Because it's like, I see bodybuilding as a bunch of misfits already. You know, we're already mostly misunderstood by the general public, and they think that it's weird and gross and whatever. So it's just kind of like, who do you guys think you are? You think that you're like professional football, basketball, whatever players? You're not mainstream. So this is not, you know, poo-pooing on the sport of bodybuilding. You all already did that yourselves, you know? That's why I feel like guys like Sebum have brought the sport up and into mainstream more, because he's different. He has empathy. He has self-awareness. Like, he's an actual good guy. You know, maybe more should probably catch on to that shit. Maybe.
Right. Well, and that's what I loved about bodybuilding, is that it was just about the hard work. It was about doing the shit and showing it off, because that was like the thing about bodybuilding, right? It's earned, not given, period. Right. And it's just to see this, what it's turned into, is just so disheartening. And just the sheer amount of engagement in an agreement was just so painful. And being like, because I don't know, and this is kind of a can of worms, but, and I don't know if you've experienced it the same, but like, I feel like community is really hard when you're like later in your transition. Maybe you look really masculine, and when you're a gym bro, like, people assume not good things about you. Like, most people, when I walk around in public, think I'm just some country hick who probably voted for Trump. That's the look I have, you know, like, and I'm in this like South Ohio, like, and I drive a pickup truck, you know, and so like, I feel like community amongst people who are actually like me is hard, because people don't see me and think gender nonconforming or queer or anything like that. But I'm like, well, I have this bodybuilding community, and that's pretty cool, because we're all aiming for the same thing. We're all obsessed with this. It took over our lives at least a point, and you can see it on each other, right? Because you can tell when someone spends a lot of time in the gym sometimes, right? And it was so nice, and it just feels like it's one less community, and it feels like it's just like we have nothing, is what it feels like. And it just feels like any crumbs that we do get to hold on to are just being chipped away as the days go by, which is insane. I feel like this January has been the worst month for the trans community in so long.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And, you know, it's been like that, I feel like, ever since the, you know, election cycle started up, because Trump was running off of, you know, the anti-trans rhetoric. Yeah. So it's like, it was already getting bad, but then it got real bad at that point, because again, that gives people permission to just be assholes. But the thing is, people don't do their own research. If they don't know anyone that's trans, they just take his word for it. And that's why we have this like big group of people that just kind of follow. They're like, it's like a fucking beehive, you know, they just follow whatever he says. And then they don't think to actually do any sort of research outside of that. And so I think that's the thing when people say, basically they tell us to calm down, like, relax, you know, nothing's happening. None of your rights have been taken away. But it's the overall attitude towards trans people. And like, fuck, we're humans. We want to belong. You know, it's human nature to want to have your tribe and be accepted. So when the masses are just dogpiling on you. Like you can only take so much until, again, bodybuilding and the gym felt like this one safe place that you felt like you would always belong. And then to have a lot of evidence otherwise, you just feel it's devastating, because you're just kind of like, well, where do I go from here? Where do I fit in? And in the same sense where sometimes it's like, I don't feel like I fit in, in regular society at points. Like sometimes I don't feel like I fit in the trans community because we, look like hicks with, like we look Republican, you wouldn't know, whatever.
We like that masculine look.
Yeah, because like even being into bodybuilding sometimes can get your shit on within the trans community, toxic masculinity, assumptions, and things like that. So then it's really, really confusing and hurtful from many ends in being like, where do we go? Where is our community? Because it's hard, especially as an adult. You live busy lives. You don't just meet people as much. You're not in the same grade as people. You can maybe meet people at work, but I work from home. So, it's, I'm not meeting, many people. And then maybe you have like meetup groups, you got queer meetup groups or stuff, but it's really hard because you still don't, the only thing you share in common is the fact that you're trans, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get along. Doesn't mean you're going to like be best friends and whatever. It's kind of like saying any minority group, right? It's like, oh, well, like, hey, there's other, minorities over there. Like there's a lot of Asians that live in this area. You could go find some friends over there. It's just like, just because you're the same like ethnicity, it doesn't make sense. But so I feel pretty lost. Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree. And it's just, I think also because social media, this is social media. Like this is the social media in 2025 is like, we're going to get told to kill ourselves. If we're in any comment section, we're going to get bombarded with this stuff. And the hard thing about, especially because the nice thing about Instagram and the reason I was drawn to it in the first place, and even the reason me and you know each other is because of this Instagram community that we've cultivated as like trans folks. Because I feel like I don't know any trans people. I know very few trans people in my locality. Like I've met almost everybody online, and now online doesn't feel safe. Like it's hard to get on Instagram and not get upset. Even if you're not if you're not trying to look at anything like at politics, it's hard to avoid it. And so it feels like you're getting pushed away from the internet or social media. You're getting pushed away from the gym. You're getting like, it's like, where are we supposed to go?
Yeah.
And
it's, sorry.
No, you're fine. And like the last thing I recently posted in my fighting was, also, I have every right to be here as much as anybody else. Like we're all supposed to be Americans, which means we're supposed to be fucking free to do whatever the fuck we want. Right. Yeah. And it's just like, why does my status at birth mean less than what yours does? We were born in the same place, bro. Like I pay taxes just the same as you. Your Cheeto leader does not. But like, I just don't understand how they can be so excited to say we're the only free nation. We're this is the land of the brave, or whatever the sayings are, and like, but freedom for fucking who, man? Because you're just chipping away at our freedoms.
Yep. Yep. And it's like, sorry. I was just like, even if nothing has been like put into law yet, it's it's coming, and people are fighting to take things away. It doesn't feel any better. So, yeah.
No, when it's up for debate, it doesn't feel good. And well, and I do want to talk. I think we should try to talk about this topic because another thing that I saw a lot in the comment section was just give them their own category so they shut up. And I want to talk about how separate and equal are not the same thing, and how we tried that in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And have you seen that a lot? Because I feel like
Yeah.
I see it a ton.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think? Go off.
There's definitely a lot of parallels. And they don't understand. Well, one, there's not enough of us, but they think that we're everywhere. It's like there really is not that many of us. We do have a trans competition. Do you know how many fucking people show up each year? Like, I had the whole fucking roster. Like, as a coach,
Yeah.
I was coaching 3 people, and that is all that was on stage.
Wait, haven't you coached also like the last like 5 winners or something?
Except for last year, I didn't have anyone compete.
Right,
but then this year I had 3, and they all compete against each other. So it's like all of my athletes were the one class. So that just shows you how small amount of us there actually are. It's like there's not a lot of us to begin with, but there are certainly not a lot of us that actually want to compete or can compete or whatever. So to make that post, it just shows like how blown out of proportion the whole like trans takeover, it's everywhere situation has gotten. And the fact is that it hasn't just exploded. We've just gained more acceptance, but now we're pedaling it back, because once you start to get equality or, you know, close to it, then people are like, no, you cannot do that because you're different and you're a freak and I need to feel good about myself. And if you have equal rights with me, then like for somehow that, you know, takes their rights away when it truly does not.
Yes, 1000%. I completely agree with you. The other thing that what the original guy said, what's his name? David? No.
Nick. Yeah.
What he said was the funniest argument I heard, and this was from the video itself, was he was upset because children and families were going to be there and they were going to be naked.
Yes.
And I'm like, literally everyone is naked. That's the point.
Yeah. That part definitely made me laugh.
So it's okay for a kid to see some naked people, but not others.
Nope. You're only allowed to see some dick imprint, but you're not allowed to see, you know, some breast tissue that's actually covered. And I'm sorry, but those bikinis cover not much more.
Less.
The only thing that is different is they have strings, you know, a little less bling for the tape. But it really, like, that is not an argument that you can take seriously. And it's think of the children. Why the fuck do you always have to go there? That's all. It's the only thing they have to talk about to like sway people's emotions, because it's about the children. And it's like, that makes no sense, but congratulations. That's all people care about.
It also just makes even less sense at a bodybuilding show. Like, to me, it's just mind, like, what? Like, there are guys out there probably roid raging on their girlfriends. That's okay.
You're like,
what?
Yeah, we definitely should be concerned about taking children to bodybuilding shows where everyone, like, especially the Olympia, if you think about children being at the Olympia. I mean, let's think about even the open athletes that are fathers, right? Like, do they want to set that same example for their kids? Are they like hoping their kid grows up to do what they want to do? Because I don't think I would want that, because it's not safe, you know, it's not healthy. So, and it's, you know, not legal. And
right.
So it's like, so you're afraid that your kids are going to like see this and maybe be a little confused, or maybe not even see it because they're not paying attention. But, you know, we like point out Nick Walker and be like, hey son, that's what you need to look up to when you grow up.
Here's your first needle and vial of Tren, like from the black market, because this isn't legal. And the bikini women, not to bash them, but they're also in thongs.
Yeah.
So their ass and like, titties are out.
Their whole asses they literally bend over and they do anything besides spread their butt cheeks. Like, they might as well. And first of all, it's like, how do women like do this pose and not think, are they fucking with me? You know, it's like, do male bodybuilders do that fucking pose to show off their hamstrings and glutes? Fuck no, they don't. I would love to see that.
No, that, you know, one, well, the one pose, the moon pose, is illegal in the NPC and IFBB, which is the male version of that. Have you ever seen that? The only reason I have is because Justin Shire did it on Instagram.
Like, I would probably throw up in my mouth. But
can you picture what it is? It's literally you bend over.
Yeah, you bend over, and it's literally like I'm saying. The only thing they don't do is just like spread their butt cheeks while they're at it. But it's because they don't even have any fat, so they don't even have to spread their butt cheeks because they're like, you don't have an ass, but it's worth a try. But I just want to know, like, who decided the poses for these? I feel like they're men, and they're just. And women just do them, and they're like, yeah, here's my ass and my vagina, basically. And that's okay. It's totally fine. It's normal. It's totally normal.
Totally normal. And then the one guy who I was arguing with was talking about how he's like, I see these women in the gym who are all jacked up on androgens, and they have the audacity to dress in scantily clad and all these sexy clothes. And he's like, it's just gross. And I'm like, so you're not cool with female bodybuilders either? Like, what is your point here, man? So you don't want males that don't look like you, and you don't want female bodybuilders. I don't think you like bodybuilding, bro. Like and also the sorry, this is the last thing I'll say about him is that it is gone. Left. But yeah, I just don't get it. And, that's where it was. That's where I was going. And he said, well, it's just my personal preference. I'm like, so we should rule everything based on your personal preference? That's what you're saying. Let me just repeat that back to you. Because you don't like me, how I look, I shouldn't be allowed to compete.
Yeah.
What?
Some people have, the most fragile egos, and that's basically how Trump got elected. Yeah, it's interesting because I know there are men who, there's a reason why women's bodybuilding doesn't exist anymore, right? It's just physique as far as or close as you get. It's because men, first of all, it doesn't make money because men don't like to watch it. Essentially, women bodybuilders are basically, they're just as transitioned as trans men. The only difference is identity, right? So that's where the gender blurring comes into line. They don't identify as men, obviously, but the steroids, the androgens, masculinize them as much as they try to, not. There's just no way around it. Unfortunately, money talks, and that's why it doesn't exist. But I also think it's because men still want to have control over what women look like. And it's funny because men don't bodybuild for women, because there's plenty of women that think bodybuilders' physiques are gross. They'll say it. They'll be like, ugh, But men are like, it's fine. I don't give a fuck or whatever. But then when men see women that way and they're like, oh, it's gross, we shouldn't have them in bodybuilding at all. It's like, maybe they aren't doing it for you, motherfucker.
Right?
Like, It's competition. This is a sport. This isn't a popularity contest. This isn't a pageant. It kind of is, but it's not. So, suck it up and realize that people get to do what they want with their bodies, and you don't get to police it. It's just, not your place. So,
No, and I also there was the other. I feel like another one of the arguments that they were making was they kept wanting to boil this all down to sex chromosomes, and I'm like, one, you can't tell what someone's sex chromosomes are by looking.
no.
There are 6 viable sex chromosome combinations that can produce a human. And it's not like everybody gets their chromosomes tested. So half these guys in the comments might have a different combination than XY. And they would have no idea. Like, that is completely possible.
Yeah, it's very true. There's some people that have shit with their chromosomes that never know,
That never know.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to me. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it all comes down to the insecurities and people feeling like they need to be above someone else. But I think the part that, upset me the most was definitely the amount of support the traction and support that it gained. But what upsets me as a whole, especially right now, is just the misinformation that just keeps circulating. And there's just nothing to counteract it, because if we say anything, it's like, fucking, libtards, whatever, you leftists, you're crazy. Yeah. Woke mind virus and bullshit. Like, it's all just, the woke shit. And it's just like, maybe not everything that you disagree with is woke. Maybe you just should take some time to look into things and form your own opinion instead of just being a sheep and following the rest of your herd, because we are literally not impacting your life at all. And that also reminds me, there was just another executive order banning, gender transition for anyone under 19. And it's funny that a lot of conservatives are for small government. Where does that fit in? Where the government is intervening with your child's medical care? That should be up to the parents. That should be,
and the doctors.
Yeah. But for some reason, all these people are like for the government having a hand in things when it fits their ideology. So there's just a whole lot of, I don't know how I got to that, but I think it's just, I've felt this building for such a long time. And part of me wants to just scream like, yo, like, this isn't fair. You got to do your due diligence, and you have to do your own research and look into it. You can't just make assumptions. Thinking. Yeah. Any just small bit of critical thinking. And also things that I find hilarious is when you have people, even on Instagram or wherever, that claim to be middle of the road, and they're teaching like critical thinking, giving both sides of things. It's just, they clearly have biases, because there's a lot of trans stuff mixed in there in a not good light. And they don't ever pick on anyone on the right with things that they said or did that were problematic. And so it's just like, is there any hope for you people to like open your mind? It feels, they tell us that we're in a cult. I'm like, I'm not in a fucking cult. Like, I'm just trans, like it's just a fact, like an actual fact. What are you doing? Like, have you thought to like observe what your beliefs are, where they came from? Have you done any critical thinking to try to, empathy? Like, have you ever thought about, putting yourself in someone else's shoes? It's non-existent on the other side. And most infuriating thing is, so Trump wants trans stuff to be very rare, like I'm pretty sure he's coming for adult shit next, and he's going to make it so insurance doesn't cover our stuff. So he's banning it for youth. He's going to probably, do whatever he can for the adult side of things. They keep saying, oh, it's a mental illness. Okay, so let's say it is. What are you doing to provide more access to mental health care? If you actually believed it was a mental illness that had other solutions, why are you not looking into more ways to research another way of, coping with it or handling it or treating it? How are you not creating more access to mental health care for these people that you supposedly say are mentally ill? None of that is happening. It's just, you just fucking can't handle it. You just sweeping orders. No one should be like this. It is not real, whatever. And how is that helping? It's not.
Because they're not interested in helping. They're not at all.
That's true.
And it just feels like we're stepping towards the 1930s, one step at a time. And and it's terrifying. And I'm also, and I know probably most of the people who listen to our podcast are trans or amazing allies. Love y'all. But I feel like this is time for allies to step the fuck up, because I feel like everything's getting thrown on us, right? From everywhere. And we need people who are not just us to stand up. Yeah. If you really are on the fence and you don't care either way, then say that.
Yeah.
Just make it less of a thing then. Tell people that it doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck, but just letting it wash by, and it's like seeing people drown and just keep on paddling forward. Where's that empathy, right? You can't call yourself an okay person if you're just letting someone flounder.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's like, I understand that it can, put other people in like a compromising position, or there's a chance they might get trolled for it, or, it depends. I would love it if more people in the bodybuilding community, especially coaches that maybe have coached other trans people, would say something. But the fact is, they're probably afraid to lose business over it. And on one hand, I get it as a business owner, but on the other hand, it's like, but man, that hurts, just being dogpiled and feeling like no one's helping you out. Like not even people who are close to you. And yeah, it's hurtful.
Yeah. Because let's be real. Most women bodybuilders, probably lesbians. Do you hear them saying anything?
No.
I don't.
Mm-mm. And also, that brings me to another point. I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but, from the LGB or just LG community, I've been seeing something that's kind of disturbing, where it's almost like they finally kind of gained a smither of acceptance from the conservatives, because now they can shit on trans people and be like a normal gay kind of thing. And now that they've kind of gained that acceptance, and people are like, well, at least you're not trans. At least you're not, influencing our children to transition and blah, 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 and all the pronoun shit, whatever. So gay people, have this, they're kind of the ones flying under the radar now kind of situation. So I'm seeing less and less of the LG come to our defense or support us, because there's a big group of them that are like, let's get rid of the T. It's like, we just want to be the LGB, drop the T, because fuck those people. They're fucking with our rights, because we don't want to be associated with it. We don't want to be seen as
don't want to go down
weird.
With the ship.
Yeah. And it's just like, That sucks. Because I would support them for sure. So yeah,
right. And well, in the entire gay rights movement was founded by trans women. Like,
don't tell Buck Angel that he'll come after you and murder you.
Bring it on, fucker. I'm just ready. Like, I'm at that point where I'm like, whatever, come at me. I don't care. Like, I just am so at that point of like, I wouldn't say defeat because I'm still fucking fighting, but like, it feels like a losing battle right now.
It really does.
And I just want to say, like, once they get rid of us, because we're few, right? We're a smaller community when you're talking about communities like this. Once they get rid of us, who do you think they're coming after next? Like, this isn't gonna stop.
Nope, definitely not. We're just the ones that they can focus on right now. Yeah. And we're the people they can throw under the bus to win elections and, you know, get their way to do other things. We're a good distraction. And I didn't ask for it.
Or an easy scapegoat. Well, in like the original video from the bodybuilding BS and bodybuilding, he posted it to his stories like you do. Like, we post a reel and then you post it to your stories to get extra visibility or whatever. And the exact next slide was DM me for coaching. He's just using this to drive his coaching because he knows it's going to drive up engagement, which we helped with. And then he's like, "Oh, let me go get some bigots to coach." Like,
legit. And a lot of
I
stuff
also
he
saw
says, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was just saying, a lot of the advice he gives too is like total bullshit, by the way.
Yes. And like, but I also saw another funny comment that was like, why does every time I say I don't agree with trans people that I get called a transphobe? And I'm like, because that's the definition of a transphobe, my guy. Like,
like what are we supposed to call you? Like,
he's like, I just don't agree with your identity, and I'm like, that's what a transphobe is.
I don't agree with you at all. Like,
what?
Oh man. Yeah, that's the whole thing too, where it's just like this. It almost sounds like love the sin or hate the sin kind of situation, and it's just like, no, you know, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah, but yeah, I think the biggest thing that usually gets to me when I'm getting trolled specifically, it's like whenever they bring in the children, and I fucking hate it because I know a few things. Like, one, I promise you, I'm terrified of children. I'm not going to come for your children. Please keep them because I don't want them. But also,
they're sticky.
Yeah, it's just a talking point, and they repeat whatever they hear because Trump says it, because whatever right-wing nut job is talking about it, how we're coming for the children, we're grooming the children. And I'm like, the churches have been grooming the children for fucking years, and you don't say a goddamn thing. So, I want to rage because I'm like, do you know how many pastors, priests, uppers in the church have actually groomed and abused children, and you don't fucking talk about it? But it's the trans people. Like, at least
probably
talk
most
about
of
your
our
shit.
government as well. Like,
oh yeah.
So, like, they're taking this. The president is a rapist, but but the trans
allegedly
should not be on a bodybuilding stage.
Yeah, President of the United States has many sexual assault cases or accusations, but no, cannot have a trans person competing. That is just too much.
What about the kids?
That's one thing I want to know. Like, do parents do they want their kids to like look up to Donald Trump as like a good example, or do they have to like watch his shit in secret, like with the kids away. How do they even talk about
I'm
this
too
in
scared to know
school?
the answer.
Because I'm just like, if I was thinking about, when I was in Christian school, George Bush was the president, and they were flipping the fuck out just about the possibility of having smoked weed in college or some shit. And that was a big deal. And I'm thinking, how would they even talk about the president without like any sort of censoring? There's just so much shit, like he's got like
Stormy Daniels? Like,
it's just like, oh, but he's forgiven. He repented. He's a new man. I'm like, when? Where? What's the evidence? Did he ever say, "Forgive me, God, I hired Stormy Daniels and paid her off"? Like, I don't know.
no, he hated that reverend.
Oh God,
the reverend
about that. Oh, you cannot. The narcissism is just glaring to the fact that like he took that as an attack when she was literally just talking to him and asking him for mercy.
For mercy.
How the hell is that an attack? It's like that is the definition of narcissism. Talking to someone, having a legit, maybe it wasn't a conversation, but she wasn't like, "Fuck you, dude." It was just like, "Please, Mr." Like, she was as respectful as she could have fucking been. Like, "Please, Mr. President, like, I ask that you have mercy on people who are scared right now, blah, blah, blah." And people said it was nasty. They said it was an attack. They just like went after it. And I'm just like, did we watch the same thing? And then Trump says a lot more inflammatory things. And then people are like, just shut the fuck up. You're a whiner. You're liberal tears. Stop crying. Yeah. And so it's just like, okay. Yeah, I see how it is. But I'm not even religious. And I was just like, I'm on her side.
For real, dude. I don't. For real.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up this rant of a podcast.
It's just, it's hard because I don't know. You got both sides in your ears, and like the right. I don't know. You don't want to give them what they want. They want us to be emotional. They want us to react. I talked about this a little bit on my podcast where I don't know if you ever notice, and this, also comes with there's a lot of LGs out there who are YouTubers. Their whole fucking channel is reacting to trans TikToks and basically pointing at how crazy we are because we're crying or we're making a big deal out of nothing. And it's like, you would have no fucking content if trans people didn't exist. So you're welcome for that. Someday you might have to actually think in order to create original content for yourself. So in my opinion, it's just lazy. They don't have any other things interesting to talk about. And they're just, trying to make themselves look like they're, better than by, doing the whole, like there's a lot of LGs out there like, why I left the left. Like why I'm a Trump voter now. And it's just like, why did you have to go from one side to the other? There was no in between. What?
Well, because no one wants. It's all just a fucking game of telephone at this point. That like they're preaching at whatever the Cheeto says, but it's getting so watered down because they can't even remember the messed up quotes because he also doesn't talk like he knows how to speak English. So I don't know, man. It's just I just get so upset because it's like everybody likes to say, "What about the children? What about the children? What about the children? What about the fucking trans kids, guys?" Like, so yeah. What if one of those people who are hating on us in the comment sections, what if their kid grows up and is trans? Like, talk about setting yourself up for suicide.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, they'll still blame it on us.
Yeah. No, they would, but it's just like, I don't know, because I think that's why I force myself to stay on Instagram and force myself to fight, because it's like there are so many people, so many kids coming up after us, and it's sad, but we are like the trans elders, because not a ton of us existed before this or made it this far, right?
Yeah.
And obviously we're not the oldest, we're not the first trans folks, but like this sucks. And for kids to see us cowering to these people or just laying down and letting them beat up on us, and it's not the what I want them seeing. I want kids to see that even if you're trans, even if all this hate is happening, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
We're still making progress. We have to fight for every inch of it, and then we'll take 2 feet back, but then we're coming back. We're coming back again. And it's just, I just want to be out there to show that there can be happiness as a trans.
Yeah. And, the pendulum, it always swings. Unfortunately, it's swinging in the other direction. But, it will eventually swing back. We just got to hang on tight. And as much as, all the feelings like build up and you just kind of want to rage all the time, yeah, there's still importance to like keeping level headed. I try to obviously check my news sources.
Much better than me.
Try to check the news sources, make sure I'm not raging prematurely. And because you got to remember the news is a business and it's clicks. It's like YouTubers, they're going to come up with the most clickbaity titles. So you can't just read the headlines and be like, motherfucker, like make sure you read the shit, read it before you share it. Like all those things, check news sources from both sides to know what is real, what is not real. Because I'm just as mad at, left-wing media that's giving you those, they're fucking with your emotions, and they're just as guilty for doing that, and getting you riled up unnecessarily, because it's not fun to have your emotions fucked with, and then you go and you read further and you're like, oh, that what? That actually doesn't even relate to what you said was happening. Okay. So fuck them too.
Fuck you and you.
Exactly. So it's like, be careful of your news sources, and try not to get riled up before you look into things. Sometimes, or a lot of times, it sounds a lot worse than it is. But I think the difference is here is like, we are in it. We cannot exist without the hate coming to us. It's not that we're out searching for it. It's like literally just all around us, and we can't even ignore it. We're not reading headlines. It's like right there, so that's the part that's hard.
Yeah. It's coming to our inbox. We don't have to go anywhere.
No. Yeah. And yeah. And that's another thing that, sorry, I know we need to wrap it up, but there's many points of rage or just frustration or just not understanding. And I don't know if you follow, like, there's always problematic people even within your community, right? But there's definitely a group of trans people who act as if they are the only real trans people, right? Everyone else is just a trend, or they're following whatever. Like, no one else is a real trans person, and we just ruined it for all of them. I don't know what happened to Buck Angel, where he had his
villain origin story.
Yeah, but he is all about just blaming trans people, and it's maddening to an extent where he's just like, basically everything that's happening, he's just kind of laughing about it and being like, you guys did this, so fuck you guys. And it's like, well, we didn't vote for this guy. I don't think that's fair. Like, it's not like this purposeful thing that we shouldn't have to think, oh, we got to be careful because other people are going to take this and, this way and then start taking our shit away from us. When you think of being yourself and being free and living in a free country, you don't think that you should, keep your expression to a minimum so that people don't take away your freedoms. You should just be able to be who you are. So excuse me if I ruined it for you, sir. But yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. All right, what's our power talk, Cody? Give it to
Power
us.
talk. Yeah. Power talk is don't be an asshole. Just kidding. Let's see. So this is one. This is a James Clear quote. Actually came into my inbox today. I don't know if the quote is relevant to. It could be part of the times, but it says, "Beware the student of one teacher. A good idea spirals into dogma when it gets applied to everything and stretched beyond the areas where it is useful. Remain open and embrace a lot of teachers." So don't just listen to Trump. Embrace a lot of teachers, And I have to, I want everyone to fucking know, I actually try really, really hard to empathize with the other side and try to get an understanding of why they vote the way they do. I listen to that fucking Joe Rogan Trump situation because I want to know, what is going through people's heads. I want to know what their reasoning is. And I can see some of it, but I don't understand why he has to be the one. I know people are like, oh, the deep state, we got to drain the swamp. But this guy's a billionaire. We cannot, when you have rich people in charge, they don't even have a clue to the actual struggles of the American people. They just don't. They're incapable of it. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't trust anyone. Left, right, fuck them all. They're all rich.
The entire government. No.
Yeah. They're all corrupt and whatever. It's just unfortunately, I am forced to vote for the side that's not going to take rights away. And that's where I swing to. So, yeah.
I vote for whoever thinks I'm a person.
Yeah.
And will treat me as such, as an American with full rights.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have a few attempts at healthcare. I think that's one thing with Obama. At least we got gay marriage and the Affordable Care Act. That's the last good thing we got with a president.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right.
Well, all right.
Until next time. Also, if you've listened to this, share it with someone else. Let us grow.
Yes. Please help us. Help.
All right. Till next time.
Peace out.